إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الأمين اللهم صل وسلم وزد وعنهم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا مزيدا دائما إلى يوم يبعثون وبعد. Respected viewers, listeners, brothers and sisters at home, elders, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We continue with our series Beautifying with Beautiful Deeds, and we discussed the Shahada yesterday, alhamdulillah, and we discussed the first part of the Shahada. Before we go any further, I wanted to take a few moments to remember a great person who was very close to not only the masjid but myself, Shaykh Muhammad Ilyas Muzahiri rahimahullah, who passed away yesterday in this blessed month of Ramadan. Shaykh Muzahiri, or Muhammad Ilyas Muzahiri rahimahullah, had been attending Makki Masjid for the last 20 years consecutively, since the year 2000, and this was the first year that he was unable to attend because of the coronavirus lockdown. I spoke with him on Thursday, where he informed me that he had some work to do in Delhi and that he was put under lockdown. He was not able to leave. Then he sent me a message regarding his projects on Friday. So we continued working, myself and the other associates that have been helping him for the last 20 years since he's been coming here with his institute, the orphanage, and the other projects that have been running, the food packages, the winter clothing, the winter duvets given to the elderly, the water pumps, etc. A lot of work. So we continued as normal until last night after Taraweeh. I was going through my messages, and another Shaykh from India had sent a message saying that he had passed away. So I rang Shaykh Hafiz Hussain, who is the Imam at Masjid Imraan, because Shaykh Muhammad Ilyas Muzahiri had a close connection with myself and with Shaykh Hussain, Imam of Masjid Imraan, and his family, especially Anas Memi. So he had confirmed that yes, Shaykh Muzahiri had passed away. So I rang India straight away and I spoke to his son. And his son obviously was not in any state to talk, but he said enough that yes, the father had left him and that we should continue working and supporting the legacy that he has left behind. I got very close to him. I think he's been attending Makki Masjid since the year 2000, but I actually became close to him in 2005, 2006, around about that time. And then I'd invite him to our house and he'd open his fast with us. And since then he would ring me occasionally, and in the last 5-6 years we got even closer, so I'd ring him every few weeks and then he'd ring me if I didn't ring him. But what I liked about him and what made me close to him was his humbleness. Something we've been discussing in the last few days, his character, his akhlaq. Very simple, down to earth, humble, kind, caring, raised in a very well Islamic environment, we could say. His parents must have, I believe his parents are alive. They must have put a lot of effort, mashallah, in him. Even with a quick, informal message that he would send me on WhatsApp audio, even that would have the full salam, and he would address me by the full name, ask me about my family first and about Makki Masjid and the worshippers. And then he would give the message, and then he would close the message, conclude the message with the dua fi amanillah and a few other duas as well. And that is just for an informal message. He was here April the 28th on our nephew, madrasa student, Hafiz Ismail Mahmoud's Khatm al-Quran. And of course on that day, Hadha Shaykh Yusuf Mutala Sahib, rahimahullah, he also attended as well. And Shaykh Muzahiri was mentioning to me that after the program he had met Hazrat Shaykh Yusuf Mutala Sahib, and that Hazrat Shaykh Yusuf Mutala Sahib had informed him that he had read his books. Shaykh Muhammad Ilyas Muzahiri also had wrote books as well, stories. One of the books he gave me as a gift was stories with lessons and morals from Sahih al-Bukhari. And he, rahimahullah, had been teaching Bukhari and Muslim for the last 40 years. This is Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim we're talking about, Sahih Muslim. 40 years, it's a big thing. He was also one of the earlier and senior students of Shaykh Yunus from Darul Saharunpur, rahimahullah. Very great personality. And I was mentioning that he was here on April the 28th, on the day that our nephew completed his Hifz al-Quran. And our uncle, Shaykh Muhammad Ashraf, rahimahullah, who was here as well. And I was just thinking, within the 1 year, our uncle has passed away, Hazrat Shaykh Yusuf Mutala Sahib has passed away, and now Shaykh Muhammad Ilyas Muzahiri, rahimahullah, has also passed away as well. And honestly, this is a wake-up call. It made me think. His son was mentioning that he has left us suddenly. It came out of the blue. It was not even expected. Yes, death is expected. We're all going to die. But sometimes you're ill or you get old and you kind of get indications. But I think he was in his mid-60s, so I think and with the work that he is engaged in, perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him too early from this world. But there's hikmah, and we respect the taqdeer, of course, and accept the taqdeer of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's khair in everything. But we're discussing about akhlaq and character and how we should become better Muslims, and part of the last few days, part of the dars of the last few days has been about charity and about giving and supporting and being selfless. And here is someone who was originally from Gujarat and yet working in Bihar, India, and the distance is very likely it's from Birmingham to Newcastle. So a good 200, 250 miles, and they don't have, and we all know the transport system in India. So to get to, Bihar, India, is a good 2 days journey. And his work was in Bihar. Why? Because it's the second most poorest state in India, and there are many, many Muslims in that state. And he didn't just run the institute. His focus wasn't just inside of the institute. His tawajjuh, his focus, was also outside of his institute, where he built over 20 masajids. Over 20 masajids. And in the most poorest areas, he put water pumps so that people could have clean water, and they won't have to travel miles and miles to get clean water. And then every winter, before the starting of the winter, he would go out and then give out clothing and blankets, cardigans, and he would do it himself with his own hands. Kind, caring, charitable, selfless. Are these not the qualities that we have been discussing or are going to discuss? Are these not the qualities that we are supposed to bring into our lives? And the truth is that his work is accepted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For him to have been engaged in so many different projects, and in our own masjid, brothers would ask about him and would openly donate towards this institute. And there are brothers like, I don't want to spoil the deeds or anything, but our Muaddin, Haji Sadaqat, who's been continuously sponsoring the orphans there, our own family, other people, and mashallah, Haji Ibrahim. Every year, 10, 20 sponsors sponsoring orphans, who, in fact, this year, Haji Ibrahim's family themselves had over 5 hufaz who they sponsored. And it's amazing. Amazing. And in fact, the phone call I made on Thursday was Brother Ibrahim and Haji Ibrahim had inquiry to make, and we, alhamdulillah, sorted it all out. But it's an amazing person who people wanted to help. Every year we've seen so many different ulamas come. Our own masjid would have, every year we have 70, 80 collections. Slightly put a restriction last year to 60, but the years before we'd have 3 collections every day. Dhuhr, Asr, Isha. Over 100 ulamas coming. And myself, there's only Shaykh Muhammad Ilyas Mazari, who I would, out of respect, say to him that I will make the announcement for you. I didn't do that for anybody else, but for him, rahimahullah, I'd say, I will make the announcement for you. Showed a lot of love to our family, to my children especially. Very young, and I hope they will be able to, especially my son, be able to remember him. Another great person has left this world, who has done a lot of work. Not only just building a masjid, working outside of the masjid, building other masajids. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on his soul. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him the highest maqam in fil jannat al-firdaus al-a'la wa an-nabiyina wa siddiqeen wa shuhada wa salihin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant his family sabr and jameel. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward the brothers who have been supporting him. I know there's brothers, there's a brother Sidat, Farid Sidat in Nuneaton, and of course Hafiz, Sheikh Hussein's family, Anas Mehmi, and others who have greatly worked with him, supported him, helped him, and there's many others as well. May Allah accept and reward them for their efforts. And those from Makki Masjid, my own family, Haji Sadaqat, Haji Abdul Wadud, Haji Bashir, Haji Ibrahim, all of these great people who have supported his institute. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them as well immensely, and continue taking the work of Deen from the brothers I've just mentioned in continuing to support Shaykh's Darul Ulum and Institute. It is a very, very poor area. It does need help and support. And I spoke with Shaykh Muzahiri the beginning of when the COVID-19 illness started and when the restrictions started, and he had confirmed that he was not going to come this year. So he said that you will look after my work, and I said, even if you were to tell me or you weren't to tell me, I would do that, because I'd feel obliged to do it because of my love for you. And I spoke to the brothers who normally sponsor the children, and they give the zakah or they give the qurbani. Alhamdulillah, that will continue. In addition to that, I set up a Just Giving page, and this was back in March, and I sent him the link. I said, I've set up a Just Giving page, and inshallah, if people will want to, if they want to donate, they can donate on this page as well. So those who are watching or listening and they wish to support his institute, then if you have my number, you will see there's a Just Giving page. The link is there, and I believe that these young children, if you help them, you support them, most of them are orphans. I've got a lot of photos he's been sending me. They're all orphans, they have no parents. If they have parents, the parents are not able to feed them, look after them, so they send them to this institute. And Shaykh Muzahiri has been taking care of them, and he's been a father figure, like he has been to so many people, so many people. So continue to support this noble work. It's sadaqatun jariyah. As I mentioned, that it is your currency. Ad-dunya mazra'atul akhirah. This world is an investment for the akhirah. No money spent fi sabilillah is wasted. And I say two things I've learned in my life. One is, you don't lose your izzah by forgiving someone. You don't lose your respect for forgiving someone. And number two is, you don't become poor by giving the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if both are done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you will have izzah and respect, and especially in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will never be poor. You will never go sleep on an empty stomach. This is the best investment. Investing in institutes where Allah's name is said, where people's iman is protected, where there are missionaries working to take away these children and take their iman away from them. Eventually that is what happens. When other groups come, missionaries come, and they start taking care of them, these young children, and then they follow their faith. They're innocent, they don't know. And then when they grow up, they grow older, and people realize, oof, they've lost their religion, and then they start helping them or trying to help them, say, well, where were you before? Where were you before? So let us work together and help this noble cause. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on him and his family, and give them sabr and jameel. So as I mentioned, continuing from yesterday, we mentioned regarding the Shahada and how it beautifies a person. And how does it beautify a person? Number one, spiritually you beautify yourself by negating all false gods and affirming that there is one Allah. And how do you beautify yourself? With the second part of the Shahada is you accept that Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Prophet of Allah, the final Prophet of Allah, and so you live your life according to the teachings of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that in itself beautifies your life. And we mentioned that it is not simply enough to give lip service to the Shahada. You have to understand and know what you are doing and saying when it comes to Shahada. You cannot say the Shahada and expect that your Islam will be accepted without even knowing the meaning. If you're praying the Arabic, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abdu wa rasuluh, you should know what the meaning is. What am I saying? What is this statement? What is this testimony that I'm saying or making? So very briefly, we mentioned that number one was knowledge. Okay, one must know what he is saying, have the basic understanding of the Shahada. Number two is yaqeen, certainty. You have to be certain about it. You cannot have any doubts in your minds, in your hearts. Number three is then you have to accept it. Okay. Number four is once you accept it, you have to totally submit to it, meaning the teachings of the Quran, the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Number five is truthfulness. You have to be truthful in your accepting the Shahada. You cannot lie. You cannot pretend that you have taken the Shahada. Number six, there needs to be sincerity in your Shahada. You've taken the Shahada. You believe in the Shahada for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and not to please somebody else. Number seven was love and mahabba for the Shahada and everything that is connected with the Shahada. So having love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having good thoughts about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having love for Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, having love for his sunnah, having love for his seerah, having love for every form of worship, not thinking that salah or fasting or zakah is a burden, it's pressure on you. No, you do it out of love for the sake and pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number eight, not only do you do all these things, but if there are any other gods that you, or anything that is similar to associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you, of course, you have to deny that. So denial of other false gods as well. And I mentioned this mainly because of the Arabs. They would believe in Allah, but they also believed in other gods as well, like La'at and Uzza, one or two of them. They would believe that they were also gods as well. And number nine is adherence till you leave this dunya, till the end. وَعَبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِكَ الْيَقِينَ. You have to be sincere and devoted and committed to the Shahada until you leave this world. The second part of the Shahada, which is وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ, and we've got about 5 to 10 minutes. And we'll briefly discuss this and we'll continue tomorrow inshallah. Is to testify that Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a prophet of Allah. He is a final prophet of Allah, and by accepting him as being the final prophet of Allah, and then accepting each and every sunnah, his af'al, his aqwal, this in itself will beautify you as a character. Why? وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are on the esteem, on the highest level of character. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِيُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in an authentic hadith that indeed I have been sent to perfect, to complete a person's character. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. And there are many other verses in praise of the character of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And know this, that your salah, your zakah, your sawm, your hajj cannot take you to Jannah alone if you don't have good manners. All your worship needs to be accompanied with good akhlaq and good manners. This is why the Prophet ﷺ said that inna min akmalil mu'minina imana ahsanuhum khuluqa. That indeed the most complete believer in his iman is the one who has the best manners. And trust me, we know of people who will pray in the first row, who will wear the amama, who will have tasbih in their hands, who will wear white, punctual on their salah in the first row, but their behavior, their akhlaq, their mannerisms at home stinks. So you can't have the former without the latter. Your worship, your salah, zakah, fast, everything needs to be accompanied with good manners. Where do we learn those good manners? We learn them in the seerah of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we are about to learn now. So a sign of iman is good character. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was the walking Quran. Verses were revealed and he showed us how to adhere to them. This is why when questions were raised and asked about his behavior, his character, What would the Sahaba say? What would Aisha radiallahu anha say? كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. That his life, his character was the Quran. What you read in the Quran was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was exemplary in every part of his blessed life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the one who, if you sat with him, you felt happy, you felt comfortable, you felt special. In authentic hadith, the companions have mentioned that our connection with the Prophet ﷺ was such that each one of us thought that we were the favorite ones of the Prophet ﷺ. So Abu Bakr thought that he was the Prophet ﷺ's favorite. Umar radiallahu anhu, he thought he was the Prophet's favorite. Ali radiallahu anhu, or Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, he thought he was the favorite. This is an amazing quality to have. This in itself is a miracle. To have a friendship with so many people, right? And each one of them thinks that they are the special ones to you. And the sad thing today is that we can't even, our own family members don't even feel like that about us. Our own children don't even feel comfortable around us. They don't feel special around us. They don't feel happy around us. What good is the Shahada? What good is your Salah and your Zakah and your Sawm when your own spouses, when your own children, they don't feel happy around you? That they can't wait for the day that you leave this world. They can't wait for the moment that you leave the front door. The Prophet ﷺ was amazing. Why? Because he made everyone feel special. His wives, his grandchildren, his daughters. He would give up his own space and make his own daughters sit in the place he was seated. And he would stand himself. He would open his cloak for his daughters. How much respect did he give his own daughters? He sallallahu alaihi wasallam, treated and respected his own daughters far greater than we respect our sons, and we think we're treating our sons so special. There was no difference with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Here was a man who worked for a woman who was 15 years his senior, but he had such an impact on her through his mannerisms, through the way he was doing business dealings, that she proposed and married him. She proposed and she married him. Not because of his looks, and even though he sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the best looking, otherwise he was an orphan. He was not rich, he had no wealth, but the qualities he had, the characteristics he had, they were rich, they were powerful, they had an impact on people. This is why even before prophethood, he was known as Al-Amin. He was known as As-Sadiq Al-Amin, the truthful, the honest one. He lived a life full of goodness, and he was perfect in character. We are not perfect in our character. We have flaws, we have faults. But if we have one aim, one goal, and that is to live like the Prophet ﷺ, we will never reach that level. But even if we are somewhat close enough, we would have lived a very, very good, successful, happy life. And everyone connected with us would have felt happy and special. I've just mentioned about Shaykh Muzahiri. I spoke to 4 or 5 different people. Each one of them mentioned the same thing. And what were they saying? That I was so special to Shaykh Muzahiri rahimahullah. I said that myself. I felt I was special. And it's by saying I felt I was special. Brother Farid in Nuneaton is saying I felt I was the special one. Amazing quality to have, to make others feel special, to give them time. He didn't just say, he didn't give lip service to his family, I love you, and then he turned away from them. Like we will say the sweetest things to our wives, our husbands. No, I love you, honey, darling, habibi. And after that sentence, we're like on our phones. We're chatting away with our friends. And that woman that you just call habibi, or that man you just call darling, he's waiting. or she's waiting, and you're blanking them out. He never blanked his wives. He never blanked his family. He never blanked his companions. Amazing qualities he had. Qualities that today sadly have died out of us, that we take no importance of. He, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had the best of manners. They all felt close to him, they felt special. And he was very gentle in his approach, in his speech, the way he spoke. He wasn't abrupt. He'd listen, he won't cut you off. And when he would listen, his focus, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his focus was fully on you, his tawajjuh was on you. Sadly now we talk to people and our mind is elsewhere, our heart is elsewhere. Or we're talking to them and they're like, yeah, carry on, I'm listening. But you're on your phone, you're texting away, and you're like, don't worry, carry on, I'm listening. And your head is down texting. How do you think that person feels? When your child comes to you, and your child wants something, and you're on your phone, you're checking your status, you're checking your messages on Facebook or Instagram, you're looking at how many likes you got today, how many people are following you today, how many people have watched your video today, and you're like, 1 second, yaar, be patient, have sabr, wait. And that child waits for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, until that child walks away and you did not even realize your child walks away. And after 10 minutes, you put your phone away, G beta, and you look, he's not there. You've pushed your own child away. You've ignored your own child. You've neglected your own child. And you expect that when you are old and vulnerable, this child is going to come to you to help you, to support you, to love you, to take care of you. He's never going to forget how he was treated as a 5-year-old, as a 10-year-old. He will always remember those days. He won't remember the way he was treated as a 20, 13-year-old man when he was a man enough to be independent, to look after himself. But he will remember, and those will be everlasting memories for him or her, boy or girl, how you treated them as a child. Their childhood they will never forget. They'll forget everything else, never their childhood. This is why we have to make sure that their childhood is the best. A childhood which they want to talk about. Look at the mercy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's leading salah. He's the imam. And his grandchildren are on his shoulders. And he's in sujood. And he doesn't get up from sujood. He doesn't get up from prostration. Why? Because he's afraid that if I get up, my young grandchild, 1 and 2, Al-Hasan al-Hussein, they will fall off and hurt themselves. And the companions are afraid. They're praying behind him. And they think, what's happened? Why is the Prophet ﷺ not lifting his blessed head from sujood? And when they look, they have a little peep. They see that the 2 grandchildren are on the blessed shoulders of Rasulullah ﷺ. Imagine if that was me and you today. If a child comes on our back, he will break our salah and give one tappar on the child, push the child away. So you don't know I'm praying salah? Or if the imam, because the Prophet was leading the imam, he was leading as an imam. If the imam brings his child in, and the child is running around in the masjid, or the child is on the father's back, I don't think the management of the masjid are going to be very happy. But the children need to be in the masjid in order to learn. They say that if you don't hear the noises of children in the back rows of your saf, you should be very concerned about the future generation of Muslims. If you don't hear the noise of these children in the back rows, be worried and concerned for your next generation. Yes, they will come and they'll misbehave. Every child misbehaves. Our uncle Shaykh Muhammad Ashraf, rahimahullah, he would say, because we were associated closely with him in the madrasa's teaching, and then certain things we would discuss with him, and he'd say that, oh nephews, and he'd say this to myself and Hafiz Amjad, oh nephews, any child who does not misbehave, he is abnormal, meaning he's not normal. Any child who does not misbehave, he's not a normal child. Meaning every child will misbehave. They will learn in their own time. By you admonishing them, giving them tappers, pushing them away, this is not the way. Even in salah, if you are praying and your child is crying, you are allowed to pick up your child in salah as well. Because that is better than your child screaming and you are ignoring them, or that your child is in danger and you're ignoring them, or that your child is crying and you are ignoring them, and then you start to rush your salah. No. If your child is crying, pick them up and pray your salah with your child. Go into ruku and sujood with your child. Pick them up. Your salah will not break. However, if you ignore them and your connection breaks, your tawajjuh, your focus breaks, your salah will break. So these are things we need to know and understand. I know in certain cultures, especially in our Pakistani culture, we think that, we even look at our child in salah, or pick our child up, or if a child walks in front of us or comes on our back, our salah is broken and it's spoiled. What do? We curse the child. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. This is not the way. Learn the seerah. Learn the seerah. Read and learn and understand how the Prophet ﷺ dealt with children. Anas ibn Malik, read his seerah. A young servant, a ghulam who was given to Prophet ﷺ, 10 years the Prophet ﷺ never said uff to him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue blessing us in the month of Ramadan. Inshallah, we will continue by looking at some of the noble qualities of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Tomorrow, we're talking about the second part of the Shahada, وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ, and how that beautifies our character. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on Shaykh Muhammad Ilyas Muzahiri as well. Grant his family sabr. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the work of all our brothers who've been helping him and supporting him through his noble works. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue blessing us in the month of Ramadan, accept our fast. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our sincerity, our fast, our salah, and all of the worships that we are doing. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue blessing us. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه الغفور الرحيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وما علينا إلا البلاغ جزاكم الله خير والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله. The adhan will be prayed for Maghrib, inshallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. صلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. استووا واستقيموا. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. القارعة. ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة. يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش. فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية. وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية. وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله الله الله. الله أكبر. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله. السلام السلام تبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم لا مانع لما أعطيت ولا معطي. الحمد لله.